Bella Vista Community Television presents Bella Vista and Beyond. Today our hosts are Mike Cleary and Nancy Noyes. And we will be talking about the Futures Cup and something meaningful.
Welcome to Bella Vista and Beyond. I'm Mike Cleary. My co-host Nancy Noyes will join us later. How many times have you said, "Oh, I wish I would have had a camera. I wish I would have recorded that"? Well, everybody has a story to tell. And here to record some of these stories and some of their meaningful events is my guest today, Jacob Smith, with his video project, Something Meaningful. Welcome, Jacob. I'm glad you're here with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So tell me, what is Something Meaningful?
Something Meaningful is a humanitarian art project about people's stories, what makes them who they are. So I'll talk to random people from different religions, different parts of the sidewalk, whatever, and I'll just ask them, who are you? What is your story?
And you record this in a video and you post it onto YouTube.
Yeah,
right?
It's on YouTube and it's a podcast on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that.
That's great. Now, what gave you this idea of creating this Something Meaningful project?
So I've always enjoyed talking to people about their stories. I've always enjoyed just getting that human connection, learning everything I can, and just being there to listen to them and help them process whatever they need to process. I grew up in a very isolated environment, but the moment that I was able to get out and talk to people and get that human connection, I did, and I loved it, and I got to see who people were, and I never stopped doing it.
Great. So do you just sort of wander around with a camera and say, "Hey, tell me your life story," or do people contact you? How do you get these stories of something meaningful?
So I wish people would contact me.
We'll put your contact information up later.
Yeah, anybody who wants to can email me. They'll put up my email. So usually I go out and find people on the street, or I go to religious organizations, or I just find random people, however I happen to find them, with stories to share.
Yeah. So how do you find these contacts? You said mostly people contact you, or do some people make some recommendations to you saying, "Hey, this person's got a story," or something?
All of the above. I mean, I've sought out people with interesting stories. I've just talked to friends. Some of the people on my YouTube channel are my friends, and I just get stories wherever I can.
Great. So I guess the big question is, why? Why are you going around recording people's stories? I mean, what got you interested in doing this particular project?
So everybody has a story to share. Everybody's life is a book and people want to read it. And everybody's story is going to mean something to somebody else. There's no way to know who that person is until that person hears the story. But you can always help people through sharing stories. And I believe that this can break down barriers in society. My goal is to cut divisiveness and to spread emotional awareness and emotional maturity.
So you say that some people open up and some people are not too eager to share their stories. What happens when people really open up? I mean, is this kind of a catharsis for them to finally tell their stories?
Yeah, several times when people have really opened up, afterwards they've said, that was really cathartic for me. I was glad to talk about that, and I think I understand things better now than I did before.
So you mentioned to me earlier that yours is not a professional setup. You just sort of walk in with a camera, and you think that's to your advantage.
Yeah. People are intimidated. I've even been told this directly. People are intimidated by, like large cameras and lighting and all that stuff.
Not here.
Yeah. What I have is very simple, and It does need some upgrades, but I want to keep it simple because the simpler it is, the less intimidating it is, the easier it is to open up.
So you almost brag that you're an unprofessional setup because that way it's more casual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, are you mostly in the Bentonville, Bella Vista area? Do you get your stories, or do you nationwide, as it were?
So this is what I do here because this is where I live. I live here, this is where my full-time job is. I want to do it everywhere. Ideally, I would travel the world. I would go everywhere and talk to people. And I do travel, but I'm tied here, so I can't travel all the time.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned before that you had a vacation going somewhere, and so somebody contacted you and said, hey, I have a story of somebody that's in there. So that's what you can do as part of your vacation, is that you line up some of these videos.
Yeah, and when I go someplace, I always take my stuff with me so I can record people just on the street, or anybody I meet, or if there's somebody I happen to know in that area who has a story to share.
Great. Now, you said that you post these on YouTube and Spotify and podcasts and stuff. How can people see some of these videos that you've posted?
So you can look up Something Meaningful on YouTube or on Spotify podcasts or on Apple Music. I'm a big advocate for video because body language is huge, but I also understand if you don't have the time to focus on a video, so you can do the podcast version.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what gave you this idea of Something Meaningful? Was this just something that inspired you, or just sort of happened into that kind of avenue?
So I just thought about, I want to help people. That is one thing I know I will never regret. And if I help people by doing this, I think that I can make the world a better place, a more peaceful place, and just, I really like talking to people about their stories, and not everybody does that. So maybe somebody who's behind a computer monitor somewhere, sitting in their chair, who's socially anxious and wouldn't otherwise talk to these people, will get these stories anyway, and then maybe break down those barriers and help them go out and get stories and interact with those people in the future.
So it's not only the people that you interview that are benefited by expressing their stories, but other people can say, hey, I relate to that.
Yeah, that's one thing I hope to do. I hope to spread wisdom, and people can learn from this, and I learn from this.
Yeah.
It's not just about everyone else. It helps me too.
So now, is there any particular stories? You mentioned a couple of them before we were on camera. Is there any particular stories that you want to mention about some of these Something Meaningful videos that you've done?
Well, everybody has a story to share, and it's always unique in its own way. I enjoy all of them, but I enjoy being surprised. Some of them have surprised me, and I've gone in with expectations, as people tend to do, and sometimes those expectations are broken, and I enjoy the situation so much more that way.
Now, you said that you interviewed some people of different religious organizations. That was kind of an eye-opener as well.
Yeah. One example that I gave you earlier was about Muslims. I talked to some Muslims. I knew a little bit about Islam, but I'd never really talked to Muslims in person before. On the internet, sure, but that's not really much. So in person, I just connected with them, and these are really interesting, amazing people, and I really enjoyed talking with them.
Yeah. So you told me that you have like a technical background, engineer type of background as well. Where did the video come in? Did you just one day said, I'm going to go out with a camera, or did you always have this aspiration to record with video?
I pretty much just grabbed a camera one day and said, I'm going to do this. I don't have much experience with cinematography. I did make some nature videos as a kid, but it's not my dream to be a cinematographer. It's my dream to help people and to get these stories out there and to share them.
Mm-hmm. So now, what if somebody has a story that they want to share, or some organization that says, we have a meaningful experience that we want to share with you? How do people get in contact with you?
So I've got my email, which I believe they're going to put up on the screen for you. I am open to any story that anybody wants to share. I will record it and put it on my YouTube channel and as a podcast. And please, if you have something to share, contact me, especially if you think it could help somebody else, because that's what I'm about.
Well, thank you, Jacob, with being with us today, and something meaningful. When we first mentioned about you being a guest on there, I thought, I wonder if I had any meaningful stories. I mean, you have to sort of sit down and think about anything that you have done in there. But I'm sure there's a lot of people, especially in Bella Vista, there's seniors that want to tell their stories. And you said that most of your people that you interview are younger because they're not as camera shy.
Yeah,
they're used to their selfies.
Yeah, it seems like younger people tend to be a little more comfortable behind the camera, but I want to get as diverse a crowd as I can. And in order to do that, I need to get people of all ages, people from everywhere. So, including people that I haven't really had on there yet.
Great. Well, thank you for being with us today, Jacob. We're with Bella Vista and Beyond. It's a volunteer organization, so if you feel like working a camera here, or if you want to volunteer with be in the studio, or even as a guest or as a host, contact the Bella Vista Community Television, because we can always use assistance. We'll be right back after these announcements.
We will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Here is our host, Nancy.
Hello, welcome to Bella Vista and Beyond. I'm Nancy Noyes. It is a great pleasure to welcome Dave Armstrong, who is the Futures Cup organizer. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about the Futures Cup?
Sure, Nancy. First of all, it's a pleasure to be with you and everyone here. We started the Futures Cup a couple of years ago. It's really based off the Ryder Cup format, or now Solheim Cup for women, President's Cup. It's that same kind of format where you have two teams. In the case of the Ryder Cup, it's of course USA versus Europe. In the case of Solheim, it's the same. President's Cup, it's different. But we wanted to have two different teams, divide them up equally, and then have a nice weekend competition on our beautiful courses in the fall here. So that's really kind of the gist of how it started, the idea, and we talked about it for a couple of years. Well, we ought to do this, we ought to do this. And finally I just stepped up and said, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this. But if we're going to do it, I don't want to just do it for us. I don't want to be selfish about this. Can we possibly raise some money for something? While we're doing this, while we're having fun, doing what we all enjoy doing, golfing, can we possibly raise some money for some worthy charity in Bella Vista? So we started thinking, well, that's a great idea. Now what do we give our money back to? And we decided that as golfers, one of the things that we would like to do is donate money back to junior golf in Bella Vista. It's a program that's growing and growing and growing, run by Daryl Muldoon, our director of golf in Bella Vista, and one of his assistants, Alex Sanford. They do a fantastic job, and they were doing it with no budget at all. And so we came to them and we said, what if we raised a little bit of money to help you guys out? Could we raise $500 and maybe help you guys? Oh, $500 would go so far. If you guys could do that, that would be terrific. So that was our goal. In the first year, which was last year, we wanted to raise $500. We did a little better than that.
Oh, that's marvelous. Well, I understand that you were the original organizer of the Futures Cup. How did that come about?
Well, by being the organizer, what I did is I said, all right, we need two teams. So it made sense to me. There are two groups that I play in. One is on Wednesday, run by Charlie Powell, and it's called the Wimps. I don't know why they call it the Wimps. It's the Wimps. On Friday, there's a group run by Larry Apathy called the Hogs. I think it's obvious they're calling the Hogs because there are a lot of big guys. No, I don't know why they call them the Hogs. So anyway, I went to these two guys, and I said, you guys run these leagues. We want to do this Futures Cup. Why don't you guys each be a captain of each team? So they each sent out an email to all of the participants in their leagues and said, we're going to do a Futures Cup. And the first year, we had criteria. You had to have played in so many events during their year to be eligible. And there were a couple of different criteria that we used. And so in the first year, we came up with 28 golfers, 14 per team, which was a pretty healthy deal. We had 14 players on each team, and then of course they were playing captains. And that's how it started. I mean, we just got together, and then they had a vice captain, they each had vice captains, and then it got more involved. Like, well, if we're going to do this, let's design a logo. And so my daughter designed a logo that you see on this Futures Cup hat, and on it, it has a cup at the top, and it says Futures Cup, and it has a blue and a red, and that's what we made our teams, blue and red. And then on top of that, we required each guy that was participating in this to buy either a red or a blue shirt, depending on what team they were on. They also bought like sweatshirts, overshirts, half zips to go along with that. And we put the logo on those shirts. And that's how it kind of started.
Well, when was the tournament this year?
Well, this year we did it in October. Last year it was in November. We got lucky with the weather. Like the weather is good now in November, but we thought, well, we're pushing it a little bit. What if we have a November where it's really bad weather? So we decided to move it back into the middle of October, which is what we did. And it's a 3-day tournament, like the Futures, or like the Ryder Cup or Solheim Cup. We play on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we play 3 different formats.
Oh, that's a lot of golf.
Yeah, it is, but it's so much fun. And then you have to, these captains then, well, first of all, we had to decide who was on what team. Mm-hmm. So we had a group, in the first year we had 28 players. And so we said, all right, let's divide those 28 players into 4 groups, A, B, C, and D golfers. So the A golfers were the guys with like 3 or 4 handicaps and better. And then it went from that to 7 or 8 handicaps, et cetera, all the way down to our D players. And then that way, everybody picked the equal number of players from each group, from each A, B, C, and D. And we had our draft, and then we found out who was on what team. And then you decide after that, then you have your pairings. Okay, I'm going to pair Dave Armstrong with Bob Skinner. And those 2 guys are going to be paired together and play on Friday an alternate shot. Alternate shot is a unique format that you each, in ours we did a modified alternate shot, so we would each hit a drive, and then you take whichever one you want, and you play alternate shot from there. It's a difficult format. And so then the winner of that match, so you'd have a blue team versus a red team in each foursome, and the winner of that match would get a point. If you tied the match, you'd each get a half a point. We didn't have playoffs or anything like that. And so then in that first year, the team that would get 14 points would be the overall, or 14 and a half points would be the champion. Last year, the red team won, and they won in a dominant fashion. I can't remember what the score was, but it was dominant. So we had so much fun last year. We thought, well, that was a blast. But now we don't want to limit our field, because the ultimate goal is what? To raise money, and to raise money for junior golf. And so if we can add some more golfers, and we didn't know how many more we'd add, but I said, I want to do more than 28. Let's get to at least, maybe 50 if we can. And I didn't think we could get to 50. But we had 56 guys sign up. And 56 is a great number because, you had 28 guys on each team. Again, we did the draft. Again, we did the pairings. And then we played alternate shot on Friday. We had a 2-man best ball on Saturday. And then we had our individual matches. So then it was head-to-head individual matches on Sunday. And it came right down to the wire. I mean, it was really a lot of fun, good competition.
So you said that they had to play 18 holes to get 1 point.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's right. And each day, you could play up to 18 holes. If your match was over early, let's say you won, you were ahead 5 with 4 holes to go, then you could quit at that point. You were like, okay, this match has already been decided. And it's typical Ryder Cup format. It's match play instead of stroke play, which is a lot of fun. We don't normally play match play. And so to go head-to-head like that, it just made it a lot of fun. I mean, it was, and the guys just enjoyed it. We start with a pizza party on Thursday night where we explain kind of the rules and we go over the pairings. And Daryl Muldoon and his staff just do such a marvelous job in helping us out. They create the scorecards. They had a scoreboard that they had. I mean, all of this I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people that helped organize this. There were a lot of people that I got a lot of help from, and especially Larry and Charlie, the two team captains.
Well, let's take a look at some of the pictures
Yeah, let's do.
from the tournament.
Well, this is guys just checking out the scoreboard after we would get through a round of golf. And this was actually on Sunday, the final day. And so it got right down to the wire as to who was going to win. And so they were really checking out the scoreboard. And this ended up being, these are the wives of the, some of the wives, not all of them, but a lot of the wives from Team Red got together. And we're really, I wouldn't call them cheerleaders, but they were a great support. And they would be out on the course and they would be cheering us on. And they made signs that said, "Go Team Red." And the blue team, they also had a bunch of signs out there too saying, "Go Team Blue." And it was really, really cool. These are the two team captains, okay? The guy in the blue is Charlie Powell, and he's the captain of Team Blue. The guy with his arm raised over here off to the right, that's Larry Apathy, and he was the Team Red captain. There you see me standing behind Larry, and I'm wearing a red shirt, so I was on Team Red. And then Daryl Muldoon is in between us, and Daryl was with us every day of the tournament, and he kept charge of the scoreboard. And it was terrific. And I want to point out, too, that we had junior golfers actually there on Saturday during the tournament, including Daryl's son and daughter. They both played in that. And we had them on the par threes. And I was so impressed with these junior golfers, not only their golf game, which is fantastic. I mean, they can hit the ball a long way. But also I was impressed with how cordial they were and how they really respected and how they had great manners and the way they carried themselves. And that's one of the things that we really want to try to instill, and the reason we're really excited about junior golf. So we'll go back to some more slides. Okay, this is bag tags for all the winning members. So all 28 guys on the red team this year got a Futures Cup bag tag that said champions. I will point out that the guys on the blue team all got a Futures Cup bag tag, but it didn't say champions. There's the actual Futures Cup trophy, which will be a traveling trophy. Trevor Taylor is standing next to Larry Apathy. Trevor was the vice captain for Larry this year and did a fantastic job in helping to organize, and he's holding the trophy. So Larry, he lives out in the Highlands area, so since his team won this year, the trophy will be displayed at the Highlands Golf Course. If Charlie's team wins, and they've lost 2 years in a row, I'm sorry to say, I'm kind of neutral in this. If he wins, then it will be displayed at Scottsdale because he lives near the Scottsdale Golf Course. And this is the Team Red, most of them celebrating after we had won the cup. And again, I was not a very good member of the red team because I didn't play well that weekend, but the team came through and rallied, and fortunately my bad play didn't cost us the trophy. And then this was the coolest thing. We had two of our members, or two of our participants, Jim Abel and Cliff Joyner, who said, "You know, I was at a tournament before and they had bagpipes. And wouldn't it be cool if we had a guy," and they found this guy from Fayetteville, Arkansas, who plays the bagpipes. And he came out in the kilt and the whole thing, and he played his bagpipes on Sunday before we played, and it was at the country club. And he came walking down that sidewalk in front of the restaurant there, and oh my goodness, was that fantastic. I mean, we all got chills. We're standing on the putting green out at the country club, and this guy in the bag, you could hear it off in the woods, and it was echoing through the hills, and we all just stood there in silence. And it was just a moment that we'll probably never forget.
It must have been wonderful. I love the sound of bagpipes too.
Yeah, it was really neat. You know, I know you and I both have some Scottish heritage.
Yes,
so,
we do.
Yeah, it was great. But again, at the end of the day, we're just so thrilled to do so much. Not only for, you know, we had a blast. I mean, look, what we did was so much fun. But at the end of the day, somebody said it best. When the red team won, and it was so close, it was 28.5 to 27.5. It was that close, and literally came down to the last match.
Wow.
And the last match was Larry against Charlie, the two team captains. And Larry won on the very last hole. So that's how close it was. It could have gone either way. And at the end of it, though, when we crowned the red team the champion, somebody said, yeah, but the real winners are junior golf. And that's exactly right. And the reason we're so excited about junior golf is, first of all, we want to advance the game. We think it's a great game. But I'm passionate about junior golf because I think it teaches young people so much more than golf. It is not just about golf. It's about etiquette. It's about manners. It's about sportsmanship. It's about competition. It's about so many other things that are so important in our society. And I really believe that the values that we teach through the game of golf are something that are so important for these young people to learn. And we saw it firsthand when we saw those junior golfers on Saturday. We saw how good they were with us as adults, and they treated us with respect. And it was just so cool. And we were asking them, okay, after year one, we raised a little bit of money for you guys. Did that help? Oh my gosh, you never know. I mean, it helped us so much in so many different ways. So we were able to raise even more money this year. It was great.
Oh, that is just wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, I heard that you more than doubled the
Yes.
amount of money that you raised this year than what you raised last year.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, Nancy, I'm so proud of all of the people that were involved. We had some contributing sponsors as well. I buy everybody in the tournament a hat, and I do a few other things to sponsor, but we had some contributing sponsors, Ron McDevitt from Farmers Insurance, Steve Morrow from Allen's Foods. They contributed some gift certificates that we used for closest to the pins. We had the guy that supplied the hats. I paid for them, but then he turned in some gift certificates as well. And we just had so many contributions. So I really do stand on the shoulders of a lot of people that helped out and made this really, really special. And we're going to probably grow it in that way. We'll have more contributing sponsors and try to make it even bigger in that way. But I think that the thing that was the most impressive was the first year I was hoping to raise $500. We had 28 golfers, and I said, guys, if we can get to $500, it would be great. Well, in the first year, we raised $2,000. I was stunned. I was amazed. And so were certainly Alex and Daryl with junior golf. They were like, 2,000? We thought you said 500, and that's what I thought we'd raise. So then this year, I thought, well, we've doubled the field. I would like to double what we contribute. So I was like, guys, I'm really challenging you. Let's try to get to $4,000 this year. When we totaled it all up, we're going to raise $5,000. I'm going to present a check to Daryl in January, but I've already given him the check, but we're going to do an official presentation in January at a golf ops meeting. And so we were able to raise $5,000, and that's going to go a long way. It's not going to just be for equipment for junior golf, which is what they used it for before. They used it to buy some kids some clubs, some shirts, some caps, and things like that. But this year, I'm proud to announce that we have raised enough money that we're going to endow a scholarship, a $1,000 scholarship to the best boy golfer and the $1,000 scholarship to the girl golfer. It doesn't have to be the best. I shouldn't say the best. They're going to apply for this. They're going to have to write an essay. They're going to have to explain, and it has to be somebody that's going to college that is going to be playing golf at college. And so we're just an extra $1,000 to help them along the way. And we're going to be doing this now. And I'm hopeful now that this is money that junior golf can count on. That, okay, we've got this $5,000. That's great this year. Now what about next year? My hope is that as we continue in the Futures Cup, that we can say, okay, we can donate $5,000 every year. And I'm really proud of that.
And you should be. That's very impressive,
Yeah,
Dave.
I'm proud of it because of everybody else's contribution, not because of what I've done, but because of everybody else.
Excellent, really excellent. So how long, how does this, I'm so sorry. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, the one thing I would like to say is, I think it's important for all of us as Bella Vistans to do what we can. I mean, look what you're doing. You're giving time to community television. All the people that work in this studio are giving of their time to do something good for the community. I applaud that. I applaud people that volunteer. I applaud people, anybody in our community that can do something that isn't just about themselves. I just really honor that. And so I thank you, and I thank everybody here for doing what you do for our community. We live in a great place. You know, being a realtor here, I'm proud to say that everybody that comes here from all over, California, Minnesota, you name it, Texas, everybody says the same thing. It's the greatest place in the world.
Yes, it is.
And it is. I mean, one of our golfers describes it like being back in college, but with money. And it's a good way to describe it. It's just a lot of fun to be here.
Absolutely.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I'm just delighted. Let's take a look at some of the scenes from the tournament
Oh,
itself.
great. Love to. Well, yeah, okay, so this is wonderful. Yeah, these are the guys gathering. Now, the morning started kind of chilly. We were blessed with such great weather, though, throughout the tournament. And so we were gathering here on the 18th. This was on a Sunday morning on the 18th putting green over at the country club, and we're getting set up for a group photo. And yeah, obviously I had the red team and the blue team. And I don't think everybody was present, but we had maybe 50 of the 56 guys, and now we took our picture. And this is when I wanted everybody to gather, because this is when the bagpipe was going to be here. And he came down from that area, and I'm not exactly sure what we're looking for. That might be me in the woods looking for my golf ball. That's a very good possibility. So, you know, we just had such a wonderful time. And like I said, the weather couldn't have turned out any better. I mean, what's better than fall in Bella Vista, right? I mean, the glorious mountains and trees, and there's our bagpiper. And my goodness, when you could hear that, I know we're not able to hear it right now, but when you can hear the bagpipes echoing through the hills, there's just something really magical about that. So here's guys just getting ready to go out and play, and this was on Sunday. And we even had some guys in knickers. Yeah, now those were something that kind of threw you off when you saw those. But on Sunday we had our 28 singles matches, which ended up deciding it. So the pressure's on, right? The pressure's on these guys, and they're all dressed in their red and their blue, and now we're heading out to the course to get started. And we were just, I want to thank golf maintenance too, because they really helped and made these courses were in absolutely perfect condition. And I hope next year when we do it, we're going to keep our field at 56. We were talking about expanding it again, doubling it again. And I was talking to Daryl Muldoon about that, and he said, don't, keep it where it is. That's enough. And it is. I mean, when you think of the Ryder Cup, you basically have 12 guys on a team. So now we have 28 guys on a team. That's a lot to manage. Yeah. And it's a lot for the captains to manage. I mean, sometimes it's herding cats. So we want to make sure that we keep, and we also want to make sure that we keep it to a spot where it's special, where it's hard to get in, and it's an exclusive deal. And, so I would just say this: if you want to have a chance to play in the Futures Cup, you need to contact either Charlie Powell or Larry Apathy and join the Wimps or join the Hogs, and get involved in one of those groups, because that's kind of moving forward. It's become that. And again, Charlie and Larry were terrific captains, and they've done it 2 years in a row now, and there's a lot of responsibility. And nobody gets paid for this, right? We're all volunteers. We're all doing it for fun. And they just do such a marvelous job and really take a lot of the heat. I get some of the credit, but I shouldn't. I mean, there's so many people that really make it happen.
Well, I'd like to thank Jean Galloway for the still images that were used in this production.
And her husband played in it too, and he was on the winning team as well, just so you know. Yeah.
Wonderful, that is great.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're doing for junior golf is incredible, and thank you for your service and your time. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for having me.
You're welcome. For Bella Vista and Beyond, I'm Nancy Noyes.
Remember, you can see this program on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at various times. This has been a presentation of Bella Vista Community Television Association. Thank you for joining us.